I left my camera. Hi guys, good to see you. So, as you know, this year I'll be going to a different quirky, strange, bizarre, traditional thing or festival here in Britain. One a month, in fact. And now it's June, or at least it is when I'm recording this. And yes, and there's been one festival that's been staring at me from the calendar since January when I started planning these things. And I've been really looking forward to going to it. And like the others, this one is weird and quirky, but it's also old, like incredibly old, like 4,000 to 5,000 years old. And it is, of course, the celebration of the summer solstice in June. And it's been celebrated up and down the islands of Great Britain forever. And so, on the 20th of June this year, I headed down to Wiltshire in the old camper van to see what the dawning of the sun on the longest day of the year feels like at one of Britain's most sacred sites. So yeah, you might be wondering why I'm not there, why I'm not showing you what it's like at summer solstice at Stonehenge. Well, the truth is, I was there, and here's a photo to prove it. I took this on my phone, but I left one of my cameras. I take two cameras with me, and I left the one that I film myself on, a little GoPro that I carry around. I left it somewhere in Wiltshire the next day, not at Stonehenge, but the next day somewhere else. In the coat that it was in, and you're gonna have to enjoy me in a field in Manchester. At least the sun's out. The good news is I had another camera with me, my better camera, my primary camera, and I didn't lose that one. So there's some cracking footage from solstice celebrations. So you're gonna have to put up with my disembodied voice throughout this video, but please enjoy the footage, and yeah. The summer solstice marks the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, falling of course in June. Now this astronomical event has been celebrated by cultures around the world for millennia, including in ancient Egypt and Rome, and Britain is no exception. The solstice heralds the beginning of summer, a time of warmth, growth and abundance. For ancient peoples, the significance of the solstice extended beyond mere seasonal change. It was a pivotal moment in their agricultural calendar and spiritual life. The summer solstice occurs when the tilt of the Earth's axis is most inclined towards the sun, resulting in the longest day and the shortest night of the year. In the northern hemisphere, this event typically happens between June 20th and 22nd. Being the longest day of the year, it makes sense that this is the day on which the life-giving power of the sun is celebrated. No discussion of the summer solstice in Britain would be complete without mentioning Stonehenge, the iconic prehistoric monument located here in Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire. Now this really isn't a video about Stonehenge, there are already enough of those online already, but it's undeniable that this is one of the world's most famous ancient structures, and that if you want to celebrate summer solstice in Britain, this is the place to be. The monument we see today is the result of multiple phases of building activity. And the fact that there's still a lot of unanswered questions about Stonehenge doesn't take away from the fact that its construction required a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements and astronomical events. One of the most fascinating aspects of Stonehenge, of course, is its alignment with the movements of the sun. On the summer solstice, the sun rises in perfect alignment with the heel stone, a single large sarsen stone located outside of the main circle. This alignment is no accident. It demonstrates that the builders of Stonehenge had a detailed understanding of the solar cycle and intentionally designed the monument to mark the summer solstice, amongst probably other things. This event would have been of immense cultural and religious significance, likely serving as a focal point for communal gatherings and rituals. But enough of all that, that's the history bit. I've come here to make a video about what it's like to celebrate solstice here in 2024, 5 millennia after it first appeared on the landscape as an earth henge. So arriving in a camper van to spend the night felt like travelling to any other large-scale festival. Lots of slow-moving traffic followed by a sudden rush of movement entering the field to find a spot to park. The monument was then a 20-minute-ish walk away. So there were portaloos and food trucks, but organisers had deliberately tried to prevent this becoming a kind of runaway festival attracting the wrong type of people, if you know what I mean. And they did that by making it an alcohol-free zone. So there were bag searches, although I'm pretty sure other stuff did manage to sneak in there. Now sunset was about 9:45-ish. I didn't actually check the exact time. And the build up to it was really exciting. A dense crowd had gathered in the centre of the stones, but as you can see, it was quite easy to walk amongst them, so it wasn't too dense. A cheer went out as the sun disappeared over the western trees completely, and then into the brief dusk, proper celebrations began. And you know what, the atmosphere was pure fun. Now maybe it was the lack of drinking and large-scale music, although there was a tiny stage set up for musicians to perform. It was designed not to detract from the event itself, which was just to be there. There were druids, pagans, even a wedding. People with flower garlands in their hair, people clearly there for reverence, people who'd gone for communion, people there to feel the energy of those ancient stones. This is, after all, a religious celebration for some people. Now just one day before, a couple of protesters from Just Stop Oil had sprayed orange cornflower over some of the stones to keep the climate crisis in the public conscience. Now while I was there, I had a really good look for any evidence of it, and I was surprised that there was actually no trace of it left. Not that I could actually see, at least. Now I mention that because it caused a lot of controversy in the press and a lot of anger amongst the public, and it made me think of two important points while I was there. One, that Stonehenge today is not really the Stonehenge of old. Very little of this has been untouched by human meddling over the last 100 years, let alone 3,000. And also, there's no escaping the fact that people were climbing all over them stones during solstice. And not that I actually disagree with that, but it just seems silly to get upset about cornflower. And the second point, of course, was just how important Stonehenge is today in our modern world. It may have been relegated to the status of just another tourist attraction, complete with day trippers from London, but seen in this light, in this still, warm evening air, it was magical. And I must admit, I'm a very tactile person, and one of the first things I did when I got there was touch the stones myself. There's something about a sense of touch that can really ground you in a moment, and at that same time make you feel connected through time to other people. And you know, also it was such a nice surprise to see that it was a full moon as well, a very rare occurrence on solstice. And that just added to a sense of magic to the whole occasion. Now, after 3 hours kip in the camper van, I headed back across the field towards the monument like many other people. This time the number of people had increased by a lot, far more people coming to the site for sunrise alone. Now, strangely enough, seeing the stones again in the dawn light felt completely different. I can't really explain why. It was just a mixture of being able to see new details and spot new colours in the stones themselves. But there was also a new vibe in the air. Those that had stayed up all night were tired, but not downbeat. Everybody else was just excited. Right, so knowing where to stand to capture both the rising sun and the sacred stones was actually quite difficult, especially with the place so crowded. So I just ended up standing next to them, looking out across the mist-flooded field. And as much as I'd been interested in the spectacle of the people there, watching the sunrise in a crowd growing increasingly quiet with anticipation was really quite something. And when it happened, it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Now, so far you might have noticed that there's actually a lot of this going on. People experiencing the sunrise through their phones rather than just looking with their eyes. Ordinarily this would seem like a stupid waste of a wonderful moment, but for once I didn't actually blame them. It was hard to watch the first break of sun over the distant trees and not want to capture some of it forever. But pretty soon, of course, the sun had risen properly, the morning air had quickly turned warm, and celebrations carried on as before. Stonehenge, with its precise alignment to the solstice sunrise, stands as a testament to the ingenuity of spiritual life of our ancestors. Despite the mysteries that still surround it, Stonehenge remains a symbol of the enduring human fascination with the cosmos and the cycles of nature. Whether viewed as an ancient observatory, a religious site, or a cultural gathering place, Stonehenge continues to inspire awe and wonder, connecting us to a distant past and reminding us of our place in the natural world. So I don't know if you could tell from my rushed voice over there, but I had a really good time at solstice. I'm definitely one of those people as well that absorbs the energy of other people around me, and so I like to surround myself with like happy, bubbly, positive people, and that's just what it was. It was just a crowd of pure, shiny, happy people, and from all over as well. And I'll be honest, before I got there, I half expected it to be full of middle-aged, middle-class white people from the south of England. Do you know what I mean? Like people who traditionally shop at crystal shops and worry about their chakras. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I actually love all that. It's just part of the rich tapestry of life, isn't it? It's great. But I just don't think I expect to see such a diverse crowd of people. Like there were posh people and ordinary people and rich people and poorer people. And it was just, it was lovely. And I heard so many accents and different languages as well. There's like Italian and Jamaican and Japanese people and Americans and French people. And of course, at over 5,000 years old, this is probably the oldest continuously celebrated tradition we've got in Britain, but it was also the largest one I'd been to so far, which says a lot, one, about Stonehenge, but also two, about solstice itself and the wonderful power the sun has had over us, and always has and always will.